Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance. And this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Diane the Invisible. And here's her story. Dear Ollie, these are letters between me, my mother, and an online therapist in the year 2000. Until this, my mother avoided family counseling. It was always just me. Here, my mother joined me in a bundle of 5 interactions for a flat fee. Our letters are in chronological order. I call Mom Mrs. Smith. My first letter. Dear Dr. Green and Mom, I am familiar with counseling. My mom, to her credit, sent me to psychiatrists for my childhood anxiety, depression, and a crippling spider phobia. I am the person who was not too tightly wrapped. She delegated to professionals the empathy she did not have. Mom raised a risk taker. We all we Smith women had to be strong because our men were assholes. She was molested by her grandfather at age 5, and her dad, like mine, was an angry alcoholic. I was glad my parents divorced. Most damage happened after we left Miami. At age 28, I went to AA, and in Al-Anon began to understand my mom made choices and was not a victim of circumstances. Until then, my rage was directed towards her boyfriends. Mom was scared. They were much safer to blame. Yeah, as always. These are all decisions by your mother. Because, again, you got another mother putting dick and attention ahead of the needs of her children. I do not want to shame or hurt you, Mom, because afterwards an avalanche of guilt crushes me. I have always carried a heavy heart all my life, yet you cannot even bear to talk about the past. That old shit, you call it. Desperately ashamed to have brought up that shit again. They all got the same line, huh? Get over it, that old shit, living in the past. It's all the same. I wondered, what is wrong with me? Why can't we ever get past the anger? Because you need the anger. That's why. So I act like everything is okay. If moving on were easy, I would have done so long ago. And it's that acting will drive you mad. That comes with a price. The price of acting okay. Mom says my brother turned out okay and we were raised in the same house. He is normal, although he moved out of my mother's house just shy of age 40. Yeah, that sounds real normal. Then he only moved next door. Wow. I'm sure he did turn out okay being her son husband like that. Holy Christ. And then would she let him have a clubhouse next door? The son husband gets a tree house. Wonderful. I am invisible to him. Neither of us had children. We knew we were not up to the job as we saw it, and I never wanted to be stuck with children like Mom. I'm happy my father never hit my mother, but he was cruel mentally and emotionally. He did hit me. I had to eat everything on my plate or we'd go into a rage, and my butt got beat. One day, I could not fit a big plate of spaghetti into my little stomach, and he crashed his fist through the glass dining room table. All the food fell on the floor. He sounds rational as well. Sounds rational. Sounds like he hates women. I ran to my room and waited for my beating, but he just punched a hole in the wall and left for 3 days. Mom is 70 years old, and I fear we will never get unstuck. I will not give up on her. Maybe with counseling, we would find our way back. This is back in 2000, so I hope you learned your lesson since then. My father is dangerous. He plays games and has zero insight into himself or the damage he does. He is a sadistic and frightening person. My mother did nothing to protect me and let me wander into his minefield. One day I realized my mother had set me up to lose half my inheritance just to keep her secret. My brother was not his son. He had his own estranged father. He had never put up with my dad. He was not entitled to half the inheritance. I told my father the truth. It took 10 years for my mom to visit me in Europe. I wanted to stay sober, be a good girl, and not blow it up by going into the past again. I was going to be polite, but some names came up and I blew it. The drink loosened my tongue and the intensity of my rage surprised us both. Dr. Green, this just touches the surface. I want my husband to read our letters. He is our support. So that was from Diane to the doctor and the mother. Dr. Green's first letter. Diane, you sound like a therapy-savvy AAer who has beaten herself up working through the 4-step character flaws. You are poised on the outside, but delicate, fragile, and sitting on an emotional volcano that has threatened to spew lava and destroy your planet on the inside. Mrs. Smith, it takes a very courageous woman to lay herself open to criticism, ridicule, and inspection with regard to parenting. You have my respect. Diane, I sense your respect for your mom's courage. What do you want from her today? Avoid the stuff she failed to give. Hear, feel, smell, and taste. What do you need from her today in order to have a healthy relationship today? Oh, I think you would need her to acknowledge all this shit in the past. That's what I need. See, what I need from you today is acknowledge the past so we can go into it. Dear Mrs. Smith, what do you expect from e-counseling? Oh, this sounds like a form letter, to be quite honest with you. What do you expect from e-counseling? Please provide some family history. Tell me about yourself, personality, character, education, etc. What have you done to deal with the problem? How counseling make things better? Take your time. Don't hesitate to ask questions, criticize my feedback, express feelings. Dr. Green. It seems very form letter-like. A week passes. My mother doesn't reply. My second letter to Dr. Green. You reply to me with my guts hanging out. What do I want from her? What do you have to say, Mom? You did not object to my husband reading those letters, so he has. I asked him. Mom thinks I'm judgmental. No, he said. You're just stating facts. Mom, you may feel judged, but that doesn't mean I'm being judgmental. Dr. Green, how do people get past unfinished childhood business? Do I really just want to torture her? Something must be resolved before it could be put away. Diane, and that's exactly my point. Like, he sent you back this kind of form letter, you know. Mother's first reply. I'm not ready to write to either of you. Dr. Green says to go at my own pace. More gaslight. And, you know, it's almost like the doctor sets her up to gaslight you. Well, we got to respect she's going at her own pace. I have not read your letters yet. Wait a minute, but if you didn't read the letter, how do you know the doctor told you to go at your own pace? We'll get in touch with you this weekend once I digest it. I'm scared of what I will read. Storm is over here. Grade A. Love, Mom. Mother's second reply. Few mixed up thoughts as they pop up. I wish your husband were not a part of this. Meaning, I wish you didn't have somebody backing you up. 2, I would rather be a Jones woman than a Smith woman. Jones was my mother's maiden name. Smith is my mother's in-laws. 3, my husband's character was molded by his mother. She was poison in our lives. I forgave him because he too was a victim. I never stood up to her, but she realized the damage she caused before she died, so I forgive her. No, she didn't. And she's only telling you that so you forgive her. Bullshit. 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 4, I feel you judge people. Black and white, a person is either in or out. The rage and hate in you are destructive emotions. There are many shades of gray in human frailties. Peace only comes with forgiveness and understanding. And here it is coming from, again, their high horse. Peace, understanding. You're angry and you're rageful. This is why it's pointless to go to any type of counseling with these people, because they're only going to use it as an opportunity to fuck with you. 5, it would help you, Diane, to take Dr. Green's advice and ask what you want from me today. Avoid the failures. See, hear, feel, smell, taste today. Meaning, don't talk about the past. The past is what today is about. The narcissist past is what today is all about. That's what this counselor doesn't understand, or whatever it is he is, a therapist. That's what your mother is trying to get you to avoid. The narcissist past is about today. That's all from me from now, Mrs. Jones. My 3rd letter. To my mother, thank you for writing. My husband already knows about our issues. He discouraged me from telling my father about my brother. And so meanwhile, your mother's got you in this lie to your father that your brother's not really his child. Nice. Nice. Patriarchy, though, right? Regarding hate and destruction, what the hell did you expect? I was miserable living with Marcel and his son, Peter. You ignored me for 11 years. Every day, the anger hardened into white rage. Any animal could be made vicious. I cannot magically forget. You want to jump to the present and gloss over my pain. This is an insult to the little girl inside me who never had her say. You're still telling her anger is unreasonable. Speak to that child. Validate her. I wanted to protect you, but still sent my history to Dr. Green. Heavy mourning. Diane. History I sent to Dr. Green. I wish to honor that little girl who suffered silently in solitude. I was born into a troubled home. In AA, I joked that my brother was an only child and my father died at childbirth. Mine. If your brother was a son husband, wasn't an only child. Memories of my father are few. He was rarely home. Except for my spankings, he did not leave much of an impression. I sensed my mom was troubled. She stayed home when we lived in Florida, and she indulged baby me. We were close, but then we left. She got busy and dropped me flat. When I was 4 or 5, I told her friend's son, Jack, touched my bum. His mother took him into the bathroom and beat him bad. Jack never did stop touching me, and I never told again. I didn't want him beaten. I learned then to protect the bad guy. You knew he had touched me, yet you left us unsupervised. I stuffed the confusion with isolation and shame. From birth until age 12, I was a bedwetter, a self-mutilator, which continued today with alcohol abuse. We moved to Montreal and my mom worked full-time and ran and maintained an apartment block she bought after reading How to Become a Millionaire. She met a nice man, Oliver, but he did not move in. I liked Oliver. He gave me a porcelain horse, and I was prepared to like him more, but he disappeared. Next came John the German. She met him at the races, and he moved in. I tried to like him, even though he hit me. His mouth was heart-shaped, and I tried to like that. But how could my mom not see how he hurt me? Because your mom was only concerned with dick and attention. And this is why you got to focus on your past, not on what you can do for me today. The only thing the narcissist can do today is tell the truth. He hit me daily many times. I told him once it hurts. He laughed. I'm not hurting you, but he was. My butt was permanently black and blue. One morning, he touched my bed. In the morning, he touched my bed sheets if I had a wet bed. He made me lay. Oh, if in the morning he touched my bed sheets, if I had a wet bed, he made me lay in it. He force-fed me, then accused me of puking on purpose. He drove like a fucking asshole, but you put on your precious children you put your precious children in the car with that maniac every day. The tires screeched. I was so scared of him. I could not ask to go to the toilet. One day I could not hold it anymore and peed in the car. And this is what happens, okay? These abusive men, a lot of times these pedophilic men, they hone in on single mothers like your mother, looking for dick and attention, who will do anything for dick and attention, including allow their own children to be abused. Now, if this counselor can't see this, I stuffed the fear, always stuffed. He finally demolished the car. Luckily, we were not in it that day. He whistled for his dog from the balcony. You better come too when I whistle, he said. So I would wait under the balcony alone, waiting for the dog call. He disappeared suddenly. Later, I learned why. Enter the worst one, Marcel, and his 18-year-old son, Peter. Mom said he was an artist. I was only 6 and sensed he was a phony. He had no beard, so he could not be an artist. I reasoned childishly. And I was right. He moved in and my mother supported him and his son. For the next 11 years, my mom was not a single parent raising 2 children alone. I hated him with every molecule of my being and once plotted his murder. You could not cut the atmosphere with a knife. You'd need an axe. He was a terrifying driver, too. What was he doing living off my single mother with 2 children? He was using her. But my mom wouldn't listen. She explained I did not like him because he replaced my dad. What dad? I never said I missed him. It was left me doubting myself and my perceptions. Marcel spied on me, read my poems, and called the cops on me and the boy next door. He threatened the boy, saying he would tell his father he was taking drugs. He was not. I had no privacy. He hid in my bedroom closet. Another one. Every fucking morning he woke up lying about the time. Mom knew I hated him. Why did she make him wake me up? Every day started like shit. As I became older, he made sexual innuendos. One night after a few drinks, he tried to have sex with me. I wrestled him off, disgusted. My boyfriend told my mom, and Marcel moved up the street. Mom stayed in contact with him. Well, you wouldn't want to give up the dick and attention, would you? His son Peter molested me from the time he moved in. He was 18, I was 7. He felt me up while I pretended to sleep. He exposing himself, but I was grateful for the nurturing. He would change my wet bed and tuck me in. I stole his money. Fights ended with him being injured. He still has heel-shaped scar above his brow. I kick real good. We moved every year, so I had no friends. I was invisible in school and died inside if my name was called. I pretended nothing happened at night, that it was just my imagination. Mom ignored the many signs that things were bad. You would think she would have been extra careful since she had been molested too. She was too busy. Always busy, busy, busy. One psychiatrist said I was raising myself. The chasm between us was filled with these strangers. John, Marcel, Peter. Who were they to tell me what to do? I did not run away because it would hurt my mother too much. Mom was unapproachable then, just like she is now. At 7, I chose not to make more trouble by telling on Peter. I fell on my sword to keep the peace. Nothing has changed. On a visit in France last summer, I lost the battle with alcohol and with it, it went my ability to stuff my feelings. I told about John and my blue butt. She did not ask for details nor express shock or remorse. She said he hit my brother once, so she kicked him out. She did not ask if I was being hit. She had not been there for me. Even now, she would rather run away. And she's showing you, like, your brother is the one she cared about. I could be angry and not speak with her, to try to move on and bury it, but she says she loves me. I cannot reconcile her mixed message. Is she running away because it's too painful? Is she ignoring me out of love? No. She doesn't want to be called on her shit. Honor, respect, validation, appreciation. These are what I want from her. In Germany, you give a lot of thought to forgiveness. What if the Germans told the Jews it was a bad situation, but we all did our best? You're being a crybaby. Plant a smile on your face, enjoy the day, and don't talk about that shit. Dr. Green, please validate my reality. How do adult children let go of their childhood rage? Do I force her to listen to my story? I lived it. The least she can do is hear it. Is she too fragile? Is it too late? Does she need her denial? Or should I write letters about the weather that leave me worse than empty? Diane. All right, third letter from Dr. Green. Dear Diane, your wonderfully candid email made my heart hurt. No child should ever have to live through such a horrendous childhood. You were completely innocent, yet savagely brutalized. That little girl certainly has my sympathy. Unfortunately, that little girl doesn't really need my sympathy. She needs her mother's. In fact, she really needed her mother's protection. She needed her mother to stop bringing abusive men home and to stop her legacy of victimization. She needed her own mother to keep her safe, not one who turned her head to the abuses perpetrated at her expense. She also needed a mother. Your mother was a victim of sexual abuse too, probably coming from a long line of victims. Your mother spent her energy avoiding her pain, groomed from birth to be a victim. She was programmed to find abusive men attractive, programmed to feel alive in the midst of chaos and anxious during calm periods. It is likely she will never looked for a better man because she felt she did not deserve any better. No, well, maybe part of it. She was just happy to get any man. She never thought to look for another man. She would rather a man abuse her daughter than find another guy. Once she had one, she took the easiest guy she could find. To actually face the fact that you were being sexually or physically abused, she would have had to face her worst nightmare. She knew it at the time, dude. She knew it at the time. Unresolved pain from her childhood, so she turned her back on you and in many ways sacrificed you so that she was not forced to relive her pain. So Diane, here you are in the year 2000. Whether or not we continue using the metaphor of the little child within, you are left with a serious dilemma. The ledger that exists between you and your mother is terribly unbalanced. Her betrayal and denial of your abuse has made things so uneven that a simple apology does not feel like justice. The ledger is so uneven that it might take extraordinary acts of contrition and a demonstration of unrequited remorse before you might even begin to entertain forgiveness and feel as the ledger was a bit more even. Yeah, pretty much. Anything short of an act of contrition or allocution, like walking on her knees from Los Angeles to Boston, falls short of really communicating the depth of remorse for not protecting you, for setting you up and putting you in harm's way, for sacrificing you, for not being your mother, right? Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And if you think that would ever, it would start with an I'm sorry. This is why you're right. I put my needs in front of your needs. You will never get that. You'll never even, before you get that, you are fucking You are 3 hours into the race before you get in. You can't even get the narcissist on the starting line. Yet a very legitimate other part of you would love to have a mother, and the clock keeps ticking. Has she ever taken responsibility for the things that I've shared above? Has her remorse ever been deeply felt by you? Has she attempted acts of contrition? I suspect that unless this occurs, no fancy interventions that I might suggest will make a bit of difference. However, if she has taken ownership in all of this, gotten on her knees and apologized for betraying you, and starts contrition, then forgiveness will not only be easier to grant, but there will be an important part that you will greet her with open arms. I look forward to your response, Dr. Green. Mom's third letter. Diane, please do not feel guilty that this counseling was not meant to be easy. I hope this will add something concrete that we'll be able to work on together. I received a letter where you open your heart totally and accuse me of horrible things. I need to read it before we can proceed. Love, Mom. But she's already read it. How does she know you accused her of horrible things if she didn't read it? Because she knows what's in the letter already. She's always known. You're not telling her. You're not telling the narcissist anything they don't already know. You're telling them what they've been hiding. What they think they've been hiding. My fourth letter. When I force myself to be loving, it is at the expense of the little girl inside me. Should I protect and indulge your denial? When I hurt you, a mountain of guilt lands on me. How do we find a win-win? Things are pretty dismal right now. My hands are cold and shaking. Doctor, tell her my feelings are valid, but please don't let her shatter. You can't worry about her feelings. You can only worry about yours. Now I have nothing to add. I have done enough damage. I am ready to listen now. Fourth letter from Dr. Green. Dear Diane, I am sensitive to the fact that your mother also was a victim, and I have no desire to re-victimize her with a scathing review of her mothering behavior over the years. Sorry, no, that's exactly what you need to do. It seems like this doctor knows what's going on, but doesn't. You have to with this woman. You have to make her acknowledge every single thing she's done. That's how it works. That's why in court they make the defendant, when they allocute, so the victim has closure. So there's no question. Okay, yes, I did this to you. Yes, it gives you closure. The fact is, she made choices. She has not ever dealt with her victimization. Her choices are rather minimal, but choices nonetheless. Her choices were not minimal. They were not minimal. The issue is one of motive. If all you do is share your history without being specific of what you want from her, then just forget it and live with your resentment, pain, and longing. This is the doctor telling me this? On the other hand, perhaps we can encourage your mother to explore her own victimization. So you got to live with the resentment, pain, and longing unless you got to get your mother to explore. Taking the risk of re-experiencing her pain, resentment, and longing by being very concrete about the steps necessary for absolution. This doctor, by your mother's reply, should have been able to tell you your mother's not taking this seriously. So what he's doing to you here, it may seem like on the surface he's trying to help, he's gaslighting you. Because again, he's not checking this woman. For example, 1, demonstrate the ability to take complete responsibility for not keeping you safe by being able to repeat back to you many of your experiences at the hand of her boyfriends. 2, Demonstrate some personal awareness and insight by describing her mindset during each boyfriend, as well as why she was unable to keep you safe. 3. Demonstrate deep remorse for having betrayed you by getting her on her knees and begging for your forgiveness. You, on the other hand, are under no obligation to forgive, yet forgiveness that results from deep remorse by the perpetrator is very cleansing. Well, you got that right. But it's something he should know you're never going to get out of this woman. You're never going to get it out of this woman. 4. Demonstrate any act of contrition, some types of reparations for the damage done. This is negotiated between both of you. It might involve contributing money or time to a domestic violence shelter, or becoming a foster parent for abused children, or even pursuing counseling, psychotherapy. This is like the sales hook here with this guy. Diane, here's the key. Don't continue this and put your mother through this type of emotional ringer if at the end you know today that you could never forgive her. If on the other hand you are just waiting for a sign from her, something you can taste, smell, feel, hear, or see, then go for it. Dear Mrs. Jones, Diane has made a decision to share with you pieces of her life that she has protected from you from knowing. I strongly believe that you knew these things already. Good. I'm glad he agrees with me. I'm glad he agrees. See, I just think this guy still doesn't necessarily understand that you can't fix these people. I don't necessarily think he's a bad guy or a bad doctor, because he does understand certain things about the narcissist. The only thing he doesn't understand is you can't negotiate with them. Therapy is useless. I strongly believe that you knew these things already, at least on some level, but found the entire process too difficult and painful to face. In fact, the reason you were unaware of Diane's abuses at the hand of your husband and boyfriends was that to face her pain, you'd have to face your own. This is a time to reconcile with Diane. You're not alone through this. 4th letter from Mom. Something came up and I will be in touch in a few days, and I will tell you then. Love, Mom. Many days pass before our next letter. Our correspondence cannot be answered easily and requires a lot of soul searching. I am working on it and spent all morning on this. I made a print of all the correspondence and study it all. I will break it down and get back to you later this week. I cannot spend more than 3 hours on the computer nonstop. I'm about a quarter finished. Have a good week. Love, Mom. Days passed before this follow-up letter from Mom. I decided to take all day and complete my letter to you. I have to go over it tomorrow morning when my mind is not mush. This soul searching is tiring. My body is just a big chunk and my back is stiff. So now I'll play with my little dog. I may even use the wonderful soaps you sent me and soak for a while. Good idea. Do you have a chance to watch the videos? How's the website coming along? Love, Mom. Finally, Mom's letter. Here is my view. I do not have your academic background, but I will try. Here it goes. I believe that being able to open up to a neutral third party has been a good way to work through our problem. He has let us open up and find our direction at our own pace. Do you think for a second I would have let this happen if you had told me? Oh, so it's your fault that you didn't tell her, huh? You tell me more than 35 years later, all I can plead guilty to is that I just had a divorce. Here comes the guilt trip. Here's why. It's fucking pointless. Because you could tell, you knew she was lying by her first letter, where she was saying she was being attacked, but she didn't read it. Then how would you know that? All you're doing by going to therapy with the narcissist is giving them the opportunity to gaslight you. They won't start. They won't get on the start line. They won't take it serious. It won't matter. That's what this online therapist didn't understand. All I can plead guilty to is just having had a divorce a year before and lived at my mother's little house for another year, then came up with the solution of getting an apartment house where I could be my own janitor and at the same time have our own place. I had no recreation for 2 years and went to the races one evening because I would blend into the crowd even if I had no escort. And you ended up with the first guy you found there? John helped me with the bedding and, of course, the male companion. With the bedding? And I had many balconies to be painted, so I hired him. I didn't like having babysitters, so we moved in. I used him as a babysitter when I went for a course in enameling on copper. My impression at the time was that he liked you very much but ignored your brother. When I saw him slap your brother on the arm, John was history. I would have done the same thing for you. Bullshit. Bullshit. How do you have a black and blue ass and she has no idea? Your brother was just a little baby and could not tell me as the older sister. You could have told me. Your fault. Your fault. I was too trusting and made some bad choices. John was definitely one of them. And this online therapist let this all happen. I could have told you this was going to happen here. We're all victims. The difference is how we adapt to it. I chose to go into the emotionless world of business and still feel comfortable there today. I've always been afraid of emotions. In school, I enjoyed math but hated poetry. This may be the answer to our lack of communication on emotional levels. I don't think I will change as it hurts too much when I go there. Love hurts. Dude, she's cold. She's a cold sociopath. She don't give a shit. She's about the money. She's about what serves her. Business, emotionless world of business, money, and dick and attention. It's all about her. It's still all about her. You make it seem there was a parade of boyfriends. There were 2. I do not count Oliver, as I cut him out when I found out he was married. He never moved in. He helped us move into our apartment and came by less than 5 times after that. I realized that John was a fling. When I met Marcel at the art show, I felt he was family-oriented because he had custody of his son. He helped me a lot as I was swamped with work. He was at different times a business associate, my salesman, my maintenance man, house husband, hockey league coach for my son, companion who would fill out my many requests, etc. My business associate, salesman, my maintenance man, my house husband, my hockey league coach. She sees everybody as who can do what for her. Diane is the greatest victim of divorce. She was 6 and plucked away from quiet suburbia life with a father and friends to a very different space. And this was happening when all the emotions were in turmoil and she was neglected by me. My mother was there. I had to go to work. So when we moved to our apartment, she did not have my mother's support and had to make it. And to make it worse, a man came into our life and acted as a father. No, you brought a man into your life, into her life. Man doesn't just come into your life. She resented him after a little while. I figured that the pros were more than the cons. My thinking was that a child does not know that all this is happening in the world, and it is for the adults to make the decisions. I figured she would just adjust. You could have cared less about it, for real. You could have cared less. Your mother's a sociopath. She cares nothing from anybody other than herself. Marcel was a father for my son. Had no male as an example. They were very good for each other. He was my support, also in my livelihood. Diane's resistance was blamed on LSD and the turbulent 60s. She was hospitalized for in-house counseling, and she became a threat to herself, and I had to go to work and could not quit everything to watch her. I also wanted answers. I visited her every night. She was sedated. Nothing more than adolescent crisis was diagnosed. Marcel was more of a father to her than hers ever was. I was very surprised that he made a move on her while drunk and told him to leave as soon as I found out. He made sure you threw it out, like while he was drunk he made the move on you, not while he was sober. See, this woman's a piece of shit. Like, she's just an awful piece of shit. I do not recall this. What molestation? Please help me. Who was it? I also do not recall taking you to a doctor for self-mutilation. This counseling is an attempt, however, because I love my daughter very much and hope that she will let me love her too. I know who I am. I want to know who she is. I never did anything purposely to hurt you. I made some hard decisions and they did not all work out. As I said previously, you were the one who was hurt most by the divorce, having to move from Florida. In retrospect, I would still get a divorce. I was too trusting. I should not have trusted anyone else. This is probably why I have only 2 female friends. This counseling helped me understand a bit who you are. Summary: you are asking me about the ugliness that touched us. It is impossible for me to look at it anymore. So don't even look. Don't even look at the ugliness. This is what it is. It's all to protect the past. My comparison would be of the showing in court of pictures of wounds on her battered daughter's body. No mother could look at those. If she did, she would be hurt horribly. They would raise questions that could never be answered totally, with solutions that come much too late. The guilty ones are the ones will be always in my mind, the ones who did the move on who did the first move on purpose. All I can do for you is say that the only certainty is that I would never have hurt you on purpose, that I love you very much and beg your forgiveness for not having seen the signs. Oh, bullshit. For not having seen the signs that you already knew were there. Please. This is bullshit. I remember being struck with pneumonia while in the last stage of pregnancy with your brother. Your father, without consulting me, sent me to the Jack's house. I had a fit because the house was infested with fleas. Diane was very emotional when I visited her. It varied from genuine hugging and caring to an explosion of anger and crying after a few drinks. I could still not understand her, so she suggested this counseling. I'd like to handle my emotions alone, but I agreed to counseling to comfort her. Fifth letter from me to Mom. The divorce was not a problem, was everything after that followed. I remember when you were in the hospital. It was traumatic to be separated from you. I remember being in hysterics and puking in the bushes out of nerves. The early molestation, I remember his name was Jack. You spent a lot of time with his mother in the last days. He touched my bum and I told you right away. His mom took him in the bathroom and beat him. After, I did not tell you because I did not want him beaten again. It did happen often right under your nose. The self-mutilation, I created an infection by sticking pins into my thumbs, and I sucked the inside of my arm, leaving bloody sores. The doctor put some stinky cream on it and cured me. Self-mutilation today takes the form of drinking. Diane. All right. Fifth letter from Dr. Green. Dear Diane, you had the opportunity to share the secrets with your mother. You have been polite, but your comments have been biting and passive-aggressive. Your mother felt the barbs, and they have found their mark in the heart and gut. She acknowledges the fact you suffered at the hands of the abusers and validates your pain. She is genuinely remorseful. Really? No, she's not. No, she's not. Somewhat defended and contrite. Bullshit. She gaslighted you the whole time. What is he, nuts? Sometimes bad things happen to good people. Are you serious? You were never completely you were completely innocent, just living the wrong life, so to speak. There will never be an adequate answer to my question, why me? Your mother doesn't appear willing to make an act of contrition so extreme that it will somehow undo the path. Truthfully, such an act doesn't exist. What you can be assured of, however, is that your mother experiences something that even you have never experienced. I hope you will, and I hope you never will. She is current victim of the double pain in the heart. Oh, fucking spare me, man. Oh, how she ends up ultimately being the victim twice? The hell out of here. Not only does she have to live and suffer on a daily basis the pain of knowing that you were hurt so badly while on her watch, but this has once again brought her to the perimeter of her own pain as a victim. You have been writing an autobiography that has as its main theme your victimization. The antagonist has been your mother, the primary emotions being anger, resentment, and pain, with a wisp of longing and latent loving. While you have been focusing so much attention on the main storyline, you have seriously neglected the shadow story. What? Perhaps the most important of which has been your mother's devotion to you in your adult life, your continued longing for a more meaningful mother-daughter relationship, and the approach side of your approach avoidance conflict. You are a creative woman. Perhaps time to channel your autobiography towards one of the many solution-saturated shadow stories rather than putting any more energy into the problem-saturated main story. With your mother's admissions and acknowledgments, you will be able to save face in the process. What's to save face? What is he talking about? Sometimes certain people are able to let go of their anger because they fear there will be no meaningful connection. If you really do not have love for this woman and anger is your only connection, then you might as well face it. In that manner you can call and end the self-debating drama played out between you and your mother instead, and divorce her for good and not look back. However, there are others that keep the self-defeating drama going because they are too frightened to risk the changing script. If you can acknowledge the loving feelings you have for your mother, then perhaps courage the risk of rewriting this drama. It's a lot of nothing. It's a lot of nothing. Dear Mrs. Jones, I've experienced you as a woman of courage. Oh, my Lord. I believe in the bottom of my heart that you did the very best you could with what you had. This is why you don't go to therapy with them. This is why you don't go to therapy with them. During the time that your daughter was being hurt and abused, I also have a tremendous empathy for your pain, just as you felt so very guilty after seeing the look in your mother's eyes when you told her about your abuse. You had to endure the tremendous... Dude, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's what she's using to get her daughter to not confront her with this shit. It makes me question your mother's abuse, to be quite honest with you. You had to endure tremendous guilt for your daughter, damned as a victim both ways. I do believe, however, you had the opportunity to work through your unresolved family of origin issues. These horrible things probably would not have happened to Diane. Unfortunately, these issues promoted poor judgments and a great deal of denial. In many ways, the future of your mother-daughter relationships is in your daughter's hand. She's the only one that can decide whether she is ready to put the past to rest. I must admit, even I have been a little put off by rather emotionally safe and somewhat unemotional approach to finding a solution to the problem. Right, emotionally safe, but unemotional approach. That means she's lying, dude. That means she's lying. That means she's full of shit. However, I believe that is your way of coping with something painful. Yeah, coping with the painful thing is her abuse is being exposed. My experience has taught me that relationships between the victim And the person whose job it was to keep them safe is more easily healed when the protector is genuinely remorseful for not keeping the victim safe from harm. In this case, you failed your daughter back then. In the present, I have not been overwhelmed by your acknowledgement of wrongdoing for back then. I still think this would be helpful. Back to courage. You must really love your daughter to be willing to allow yourself to be used as a dartboard. At some point, you may have to be the one to pronounce the patient dead in the event that your daughter should remain stuck in the past. Nonetheless, I commend you for the present. So he's gaslighting you, and he's trying to tell you, okay, he's trying to show you, he's telling her that you may need to be cut out. Dear both of you, I can't say when it will be time to embrace and look ahead at a meaningful things to come. Unfortunately, it is very easy to see what has been and won't happen if you adhere to the tragic past. Whether you knew it or not, counseling isn't magic or shamanism. There are no spells to cast or incantations to express. Counseling is about providing your clients with an opportunity to express if you will. In other words, the success of this experience is completely in your hands, and it is simple or hard as you wish to make it. I honestly wish both of you the best. I am sure you will each make the decisions that will best meet your needs. Sincerely, Dr. Green. Then my maternal grandmother died, and we never spoke about the shit again. Signed, Diane, the Invisible. Oh my God, 51 minutes in. If you guys are still here, this is why you don't get sucked into the rabbit hole. This is why therapy with the narcissist is useless. Because all Diane ended up happening was being gaslighted by the therapist. Because the therapist is not going to tell the mother that she's clearly lying. She's clearly a fucking sociopathic piece of shit. And the therapist won't do a goddamn thing about it. No contact. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much, Diane, for your contribution and story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance.